Well, I think primarily it's the principle of democracy, isn't it? Whenever anyone casts a vote, there's an implicit assumption that we're all going to abide by the result of that vote. And if we don't, why do we vote in the first place? So I was expecting to lose the referendum. I didn't think that we were going to win. And I was perfectly prepared to say, well, okay, then we remain a part of the European Union. But hopefully we'll have, a large number of people who vote to leave. So we've got a democratic mandate to try and reform it, but instead we voted to leave. So now I think that we should honour the result of the referendum. I think that's an uncontroversial position.
In terms of your political persona, you tweeted another MP, Labour's Jess Phillips, that you wouldn't even rape her. How is this acceptable behaviour for an MEP candidate?
Well, I wasn't a prospective MEP when I did it.
You are now, and you've said that you won't apologise for it now.
Oh, no, absolutely not, no. Because I'm an anti-political correctness entertainer, and part of the reason I do what I do is because I want to affect change, and I want to drive a conversation. And the people I need to talk to are people who simply refuse to listen. And I knew that this would be a moral offence, but not a legal offence, that they wouldn't be able to refuse. They would have to acknowledge that I existed, and acknowledging my existence is acknowledging principled opposition to the things that they're doing. For example, Jess Phillips is a radical feminist, and she's just not interested in having a discussion on the fact that suicide is the #1 killer for men under 45, for example. My uncle committed suicide. I find this very concerning that there are feminist groups in Parliament who will actively block debates on this in Parliament that was tabled by Shipley MP Philip Davies. And they won't listen to reason. They won't listen to the other side of the argument. So I'm sorry, don't make me be offensive. Just come and talk to me instead. I'm very reasonable. I'm more than happy to have a conversation.
So you broached the subject of rape in order effectively to get attention?
Well, it's not the subject of rape. I specifically created a tweet that I knew would be offensive, but could categorically never be described as a rape tweet. And yet, that's what the media has been saying. It's just not. It's just an offensive joke.
You've also said there's a link between women's entry into politics and the decline of society. How taking that with yes, it's on record online.
No, that's not true. I'm sorry.
Well, you refute that statement that you never said it.
I'm sorry. That's not true.
Taking into account your comments to Jess Phillips about rape, how do you expect women to vote for you?
Well, why shouldn't they? They have the same concerns as men, surely. Are they not concerned about the politicisation of our institutions? Are they not concerned about mass immigration? Are they not concerned about the sovereignty of our country? This was a political tactic. This is not, representative of me, and it happened 3 years ago. But the fact that the media is focused...
But you stand by it now?
Yeah, of course I do. The fact that the media is so focused on this is precisely the problem, and it's precisely what I'm trying to show everyone. Instead of talking about the very well thought out positions that I have, they are instead very interested in, for some reason, defending the sanctity of Jess Phillips and feminism, which is very strange because she's not a very nice person. She's actually very offensive in her own right. But for some reason, I'm being treated as a YouTube activist who has now turned into a candidate for the European elections, is being treated as if I'm punching down at an elected MP who is actively using her power to block debates on issues that affect men because she seems to be a bigot against men.
Gibraltar has a big Jewish population. You've previously said that Jewish people are rich and that therefore accusations of anti-Semitism are just a game of identity politics. How do you expect the ROC's Jewish population to vote for you?
I expect that they agree with me on that. I think that many of them will absolutely understand that identity politics is merely a way of protecting a group at the expense of the rights of an individual. For example, Mark Meechan, Count Dankula online, was arrested for making a joke. It was an edgy joke, don't get me wrong. But he was arrested for this, charged, and then fined, and instead of being able to refuse to pay the fine and accept a jail sentence, the state just took the money straight from his bank account. Now, you might not like the joke, but surely I think we can all agree that the state should not be arresting people and charging people for making jokes, no matter how offensive.
That's not the issue here. The issue was that anti-Semitism is a game of identity politics because Jewish people are rich.
I never said the term anti-Semitism was a game of identity politics. I did not say that.
A game of identity politics, not something you've said about accusations of anti-Semitism.
No, I didn't say that at all. I said that Jewish identity politics are just the same as any other identity politics, like Muslim identity politics, women's identity politics. It could be white identity politics. They're all bad. I think we should do party politics, because the problem with identity politics, and this really is, it's such an important thing that people have to really understand, is that it politicizes every single member of a group. Right, it means and listen though, that is so unbelievably important, right? Because the liberal state that we are all living in, the great gift it gave to the world is the separation between the public and private life. And that's a very important thing. So you can be a private person who doesn't get involved in politics if you want. You can go and vote for your representative, so you can lead a peaceful and prosperous and calm and law-abiding life, right? But when you politicize every member of a group along an arbitrary characteristic, for example, whether they're Jewish, they're Muslim, they're white, they're black, whatever it is, you can't get away from this. There is never a time when you're not these things. You're always these things all the time. And so every space you go into is a political space, erasing that distinction between the public and the private. These are very, I can't even begin to describe how fundamental this is the civilizational bedrock of what it is to be British that is being attacked in this way, because we are an individualistic nation. We are not a collectivist nation, and identity politics is the collectivizing of a group above the individual. It's the inversion of the fundamental sort of British bedrock of values that we all stand on, and we're doing it without even thinking about it. I mean, the very fact that you'd ask me that it's so bizarre.
In terms of Gibraltar's identity, it has a proudly multicultural society. You've used slurs against black people, Jewish people, LGBT people, Asian people, Hispanic people, and people with mental disabilities.
But never
how can people who might be offended by those terms, who might be those people, or who might be sympathetic to those people, how do you expect them to vote for you?
I expect them to vote for me on exactly the same principles that I'm espousing now. I'm an anti-political correctness entertainer. That's what I do as a job.
You're an MEP candidate.
Yes, but you're treating my jokes as if they're party political broadcasts. They're not. And I don't want to answer any more questions about identity, the edgy things that I've said in the past. I would like to now talk about ideas, if that's all right, policies and principles.
Finally, the Chief Minister has said he's disgusted by your comments and will not welcome you. What's your response to that? What's the purpose of this visit? Is it just a stunt?
No, it's to promote liberal ideas, as I'm doing in this interview. Your Chief Minister is a moral coward, he's an intellectual coward, and if he had any fortitude, he would come and talk to me. I'll be in Casemates Square on Saturday from 3 p.m, where I'll be taking questions from the public about any subject that they like, and I'm happy to answer absolutely everything. So I think that if he had any moral fortitude whatsoever, he would come and confront me with these allegations so I could refute them in person.